Some of the brightest minds in the country have just spent the last 2 days discussing ways to improve Canada's economy and trigger economic growth. The talks focused on inclusivity, prosperity, and sustainability. The meetings were chaired by former federal cabinet ministers Anne McLellan and Lisa Raitt. They're both now with me from Ottawa. Ms. McLellan, I'm going to start with you. Innovators, problem solvers from different sectors are all sitting down to come up with ideas targeting realistic ways to improve prosperity, inclusivity, and sustainability. So what'd y'all come up with?
First of all, let me say, Katie, the conference was less about concrete solutions and more about beginning a conversation. And among the coalition, 109 organizations and groups from across the country, a conversation about the importance of economic growth, and that in fact, it is only with economic growth that we end up having that inclusive, sustainable, prosperous future that we all want. And yes, there was discussion around some initiatives that are already working to make us more inclusive, to make us more sustainable. But I think the conference really set the framework, and you will see we've released a scorecard. I don't know whether you've had the opportunity to look at it yet, but that scorecard gives you a good idea of the metrics on which we're going to judge governments, the private sector, and the nonprofit sector over the next 10 years.
Ms. Raitt, tell us how this scorecard is going to work and what you're looking to measure and track.
So one of the things that we did with the coalition members is we surveyed them to ask them what was important. And they came back with 3 things. They said economic growth and jobs was important, inclusion was important, as was climate was important. So based upon those 3, we developed 3 broad pillars and then broke that down a little bit more and then created these indicators or metrics that Canadians can follow along to see just how well we're doing in the overall goals that we'd like to accomplish that Anne pointed out. Now, one thing, Katie, you know from COVID experience is that Canadians understand and know the importance of having data and metrics. We all followed how many hospitalizations, we all followed what the percentage of people vaccinated in the country were. So having these kinds of metrics in place is going to be helpful for Canadians to understand where we are on the shared goals.
Ms. McLellan, I want to ask, we've seen gatherings like this before, summits where people want to talk about big ideas to whether it's improve the quality of life, grow the economy, take on some of those big challenges. But what about this approach do you think can make a difference on this?
I think the big thing, and it does make us unique. I know that's an overused word, Katie, but I actually do think this coalition is unique because of its diversity. If you look at the 109 organizations, they represent big business, small and medium business. They represent organizations like the Community Foundations of Canada, Imagine Canada, the United Ways of Canada, skills and upskilling organizations and initiatives. They represent all parts of, if you like, civil society or the Canadian economy. And often you have conferences organized by one business group or another nonprofit sector or whatever the case may be. Here, we have worked really hard and gone out and brought together 109 organizations. And I'm going to make a pitch right now, Katie. Anyone listening to your show who in fact would like to join our coalition or learn more about it, please get in touch with Lisa or myself, because we're in the business of growing this coalition. We have Black North, we have the Black Chamber of Commerce, we have a number of Indigenous organizations from across the country, everybody coming from a different background, perhaps different perspective, but share one outcome or one desired outcome, which is economic growth that will lead to that prosperity that we can share with each other. And we think that our voices are the diversity of voices and the strength of those voices, in fact, make this initiative one that people should probably listen to.
Ms. Raitt, I want to ask you, you guys are tackling big ideas and big picture vision here at a time when Canada's in a minority government. You know how difficult it can be to get things done in a minority government. I'm curious about whether expectations should be lowered because it's a time when perhaps you need support from your opposition party members to get things done.
So as Anne pointed out, we're at the beginning of having a conversation. I mean, the goal of this summit, the goal of the coalition is to get the discussion about economic growth, shared prosperity on the map, and just making sure that not only are we pointedly talking to any order of government, it doesn't have to be only the federal government, that we're talking to each other and having an agreement with each other of how we'd like to see this economic growth and prosperity be dealt with in the country. And one day, maybe have a plan and execute on that plan. That was a clear message that came through over and over again through our various presenters, that a plan is going to be important. But at this point in time, coming out of the summit, what it is about is the recognition that together we can do amazing things, that there is an interest and a desire to work together, and that economic growth is an incredibly important factor in ensuring that Canada is prosperous and inclusive and sustainable.
Something that I would like to ask both of you, it's a little off topic. I'm curious to get your perspective on cabinet this week. We see women holding some of the top portfolios. Chrystia Freeland as the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister in Foreign Affairs. We've got Melanie Joly. And in National Defence, we've got Anita Anand. Ms. McLellan, I'll start with you. What do you make of women holding these top jobs?
I think it's great. And I was so pleased to see Anita Anand, who did, in my opinion, an outstanding job in procurement. I was so glad to see her be recognized for the great job she did. And she's taken on a really tough portfolio in defense. But you know what? There's no reason why women, in a way, we shouldn't be surprised, right, Katie, that women at this point in our society's development, that women are ministers of finance and defense and foreign affairs and whatever else. I have been at this long enough. I was at the very beginning of the feminist movement in the late 60s and early 70s. I'm sorry it's taken so long, but these are talented women, and I think they're being recognized for their ability.
Ms. Raitt, same question to you. Are you surprised I'm actually putting a question like this to you in 2021?
Actually, I am, and I'm surprised at some of the media coverage of these appointments, the questioning, and in fact, one publication just referred to the new Minister of Defense as a woman instead of saying who the Minister of Defense was going to be. And it's those kinds of conversations that we really do need to have. The Prime Minister picked the best cabinet that he could pick. I may question some of the decisions that he made in any of those cabinet posts, but it doesn't have to do with gender.
We will leave the conversation there. Anne McLellan, Lisa Raitt, thank you both so much for your time today.
You bet.
My pleasure.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.